Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Tindangle Yugioh deck profile for December 2024. This is one of the, I would say, more overlooked Yu-Gi-Oh decks, especially for the Link Monster variant. They've gotten a couple cards over a few set releases, but the Tindangle Flip deck has definitely been overlooked for the most part from the Yu-Gi-Oh Vrain series. The deck focuses on different flip monster effects and then setting up your main go-to boss monster, Tindangle Acute Cerberus, while also being able to make use of the many different Tindangle spell and traps that we have to run in the deck as well. Changed around some of the variants, added some new additional cards since the last update to the deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with our main deck boss monster that we run one copy of, and that is Tindangle Hound. With its flip effect, you can target one other face-up monster on the field. This card gains attack equal to that target's original attack, then change that target to face-down defense. And each time, each monster your opponent controls loses 1,000 attack for each monster linked to this card. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-down monster on the field and change it to face-up defense position. So you basically have all your setup needed with your Tindangle Hound to work with your Tindangle Acute Cerberus for the additional attack boost for your own monsters, but also the attack losing power for each monster linked to it for your opponent's monsters, for your Tindangle monsters then to be able to attack easily over those cards. For the 3-ofs for the Tindangle monsters, we're running 3 copies of Tindangle Drelth. With the flip effect, you can take one flip monster from your deck, except for Tindangle Drelth, and either add to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So search and setup power, and if this card's in your hand, you can discard one other card to send one Tindangle card from your deck to the graveyard, except for Tindangle Drelth. And if you do, special summon this card and face down defense. So you don't have to waste your normal summon of this card. You can go for the full setup by just being able to discard one other card, sending another Tindangle card, like one of the different Tindangle spell or traps to the graveyard for that option, being able to send that additional card as well to send that Tindangle card and then set up this card on the field to go for also. We're also running 3 copies of Tindangle Angel. With this card flip, you can special summon one flip monster from your hand or graveyard in face down defense position, except for Tindangle Angel. Then if your opponent's battle phase, end the battle phase, you can only use this effect of Angel once per turn. So if your opponent attacks into this card, if it's the first card, that could just end the battle phase right then and there. So more of a defensive card to use for setup on the field, but depending also on the cards that you use for flip effect, you can also resolve this card much more quickly depending on the monsters that we run to do so. For the lower numbers for the Tindangle monsters, 2 copies of Tindangle Protector. Flip, you can change up to 3 face down defense position monsters you control to face up defense. Then if all those monsters are Tindangle monsters, you can add up to that many Tindangle cards from your deck to your hand. You can always use this effect of Tindangle Protector once per turn. So same play with the Angel effect that we mentioned before. Tindangle, if it was the one that was attacked, can be used to flip up your Angel during the battle phase as well. And then use this card effect to special summon one additional one from the graveyard while also ending the battle phase if it was flipped up during your opponent's battle phase. And then we also run the 2 copies of Tindangle Trinity. With its flip, you can special summon one Tindangle base Gardna from your deck. If it was flip face up, your Tindangle monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as link material, for the link summon of a Tindangle monster, you can add one Gurgon's N from your deck to your hand. And if you do, send one spell trap from your deck to the graveyard, giving you the send once again for some of your Tindangle cards, but also giving you the search added option depending on the card that you may want to add, like our equip being the Gurgon's End to add off of Trinity also. And then also the 2 copies of Tindangle Base Gardna. If you control a face-down defense position monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense. You can only special summon Tindangle Base Gardna once per turn this way. If a monster is normal or special summon and is now pointed to by an opponent's link monster, except during the damage step, you can tribute this card to special summon one Tindangle monster from your hand or deck in face-up attack or face-down defense. Base Gardna acts as more of a push to go into your Link 3 Tindangle monster, Acute Cerberus, since it needs exactly 3 Tindangle monsters to make this card. So just by controlling a face down monster, you have the special summon of this card in defense as well. And then with this play and that added option, if a monster is normal or special summon and is now pointed by an opponent's link monster, you can then tribute this to give you one additional Tindangle monster on the field also. And lastly, for the Tindangle monsters, 2 copies of Tindangle Intruder. With the flip, you can add 1 Tindangle card from your deck to your hand, so added search power for the high-level monster, and when it's normal summon, you can send 1 Tindangle card from your deck to the graveyard, and if a monster is special summoned to your field in face-down defense while this card's in the graveyard, special summon this card in face-down defense. This is not optional. You can use this effect of Intruder once per turn, so this is not optional. Option is very, very interesting, just for the fact that you will get this monster resource regardless of the field, so then you have just more and more push for different special summoning resources of your Tindangle monsters on the field, with the only non-Tindangle main deck monster that I run being the 3 copies of Terrifying Toddler of Torment, another Fiend monster with the flip to send 1 Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, so it can help to set up any of the other Tindangle monsters in your graveyard, and if it's sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special summon this card in face-down defense. You can only use this effect of Terrifying Toddler of Torment once per turn, so just more resource setup, giving you more and more monsters from your send of that Fiend monster to the graveyard to then use with this card. For the spells, we run 3 copies of Nagal's Protection. A continuous spell, Tindangle monsters in your main monster zone cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects, and once per turn, if your Tindangle monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, the damage is double. You can banish this card from your graveyard and discard 1 Tindangle card to add 1 Nagal's Protection from your deck to your hand. You can use this effect of Nagal's Protection once per turn, but having this card sent off of cards like Foolish Burial Goods can then give you the option with this card to banish this card and discard 1 Tindangle card to add the additional card to your hand and then activate it all the quicker. So you have more of a way to search out this continuous spell to use it. 3 copies of Stairs of Mail. During your main phase, you can activate this effect. Discard 1 Tindangle card, apply one of these effects, change 1 face-down defense monster you control to face-up attack, or change 1 face-up attack monster you control to face-down defense, depending on if you want to use a Tindangle card effect or set one up. And then the turn you cannot discard another card of the same name for this effect, Stairs of Mail, even if this card leaves a field. So then you can also use this card more than once as long as you discard a different card off of Stairs of Mail to do so. So you can flip the card down and then discard another one to flip the same monster up again. And also the 2 copies of Euler's Circuit. The field spell, your opponent's monsters cannot attack if you control 3 or more Tindangle monsters. Once per turn, during a standby phase, you can target 1 Tindangle monster you control, give control of it to your opponent, and you can banish this card from your graveyard, discard 1 Tindangle card to add 1 Euler's Circuit. Same send effect, but still more of a way to give your opponent a monster and have it be pointing at one of the arrows for your Tindangle Acute Cerberus. I also run the 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods for the send power of cards like our Nagal's Protection, and then the Euler's Circuit, and also 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. Since the majority of the main deck monsters we run are Dark Attribute, we have a Banish and Draw play available to us with this spell, and more draw power in the form of Pot of Extravagance. 2 copies of this card, just because we do run 3 copies of Acute Cerberus, so even if we banish 2 or 1, we still have a draw into other cards we could potentially use, and then also the chance to go into our Acute Cerberus. 2 copies of Book of Moon for just another flip option of our own monsters or of our opponent's monsters if need be, and then the 1 copy of Terraforming to search out our Euler's Circuit field spell also. For the traps, running 3 copies of Tindangle Duel Links. When you take battle damage from an opponent's attacking monster, while you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different card names in your graveyard, you can destroy the attacking monster and special summon 1 Tindangle Acute Cerberus from your extra deck. If you control no monsters in the extra monster zone, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 3 Tindangle monsters with different names in your graveyard, special summon them in face-down defense. This gives you your resources to make Acute Cerberus, but a very important card just for that setup, on top of the fact that you could just grab your Acute Cerberus without having to go for the link play, just needing the 3 Tindangle monsters in your graveyard. So the more send and setup, and then being able to use this trap can help for that play. Or if we just have more and more setup in the play and control the monsters in the extra monster zone, this could be another card to banish from the graveyard to give us those resources back on the field also. With the last of the traps being 1 copy of Goes in Match and the 1 copy of Gurgon's End, a searchable card as well. Don't forget, off of our Tindangle Trinity, so that's why we just run the 1 of for this card, which then targets and equips onto a Tindangle Link monster, which our only one being Acute Cerberus, to then have it not be destroyed by battle or card effects, and then the Goes in Match to, lock down any of our opponent's summons they may try to do, and since we only mostly run Dark Attribute, it doesn't really affect us as much. For the Link monsters, 3 copies of Tindangle Acute Cerberus. With needing 3 Tindangle monsters, it gains 3,000 attack. If you have 3 or more Tindangle monsters with different card names in your graveyard, including base card now, gains 500 attack for each Tindangle monster your card points to. And at the end of the battle phase of this card declare an attack, you can special summon 1 Tindangle token. So this will give you plays to set them up to where the link arrows point, giving you more monsters as well if you have the 3 or more. So then, if you at least have the 2, the token can provide the additional attack boost as well for this card, and then also the equip spell to give it more protection, along with the fact that the link plays revolve around a good amount of what you can set up with Acute Cerberus. And then for the rest of the extra deck, 1 copy of Almirage, 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Moon the Closed Heaven, 1 Barricade Board Blocker, 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, and 1 Master King Archfiend, with the additional link monsters being 1 SP Little Knight, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Unchained Abomination, 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, and then the 1 Sky Crisis to finish off the extra deck. And then as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, as I mentioned before, setup for your Tindangle monsters in the graveyard can be a big part of it. So one of the better hands to make full use of this play as well gives you more options for some of our monsters and setup. Just mean you have to use these cards and discarding a Tindangle card. So if you have your Tindangle Trinity, the Jirelth, and let's say just one other Tindangle card in your hand, you can activate your Stairs of Mail continuous spell, summoning out your go-to monster, the Tindangle Trinity, face down as well, and then you can activate Stairs of Mail, sending 1 monster for this play, flipping up that monster onto the field. This will then activate the Trinity to special summon a base Gardna from your deck, summoning out the base Gardna to the field as well, as that additional resource for your monster can then give you the initial setup for your cards as well. So then you can go for the Link to play of choice using your 2 monsters as well. You can go for the SP Little Knight play. This gives you the 3 setup for your Tindangle monsters in the graveyard. Then you can set the Tindangle Dolomane onto the field as well. If your opponent then on the following turn activates the card effect for your monster, you can banish the SP Little Knight for that play. And then if your opponent goes for the attack and then you have no monster for the extra deck, you have to control no monster in the extra monster zone to use Delawani, so you cleared the SP Little Knight off of its own banished play. Then, using the 3 monsters for that summon, you have the 3 Tindangle monsters in your graveyard. You can activate this trap, summoning out your Acute Cerberus onto the field with that setup and just the use of your spell and your other Tindangle monsters. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this is a very obscure link deck, but I always like to update it as one of the more overlooked ones on the channel. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.